we're doing stepping stones today. This is an example of one that I made last year in a class. I'm going to do a simple round one today. I think I have everything I need to do this. If you have any questions during the demo, you can put them in the comments of Facebook, or if you're on Zoom, you can just unmute your mic and ask away. This pattern looks familiar. It's the same pattern I've been using for all my demos lately because it's quick and easy, and I have a tendency of putting off the project to the last minute, so I just cut this out about an hour ago. So I'm going to start in about 2 minutes. Stained glass stepping stone demo. I'm going to do stepping stone using glass right there. Normally I don't do demos on Sunday, but I thought, what the hey, let's do a stepping stone. I'm going to be using just cement and topping mix that you can buy at Home Depot, Lowe's, any place like that. You can buy the Flashcrete made by Diamond Tech, and that's a real fine, nice looking when you're done. However, it's kind of expensive because it's about $20 to $30 a box. You can only get maybe 1 or 2 stepping stones about that size out of it. So I'm just going to show you the easy way using cement and topping mix or mortar mix. The things we're going to be using today is some sort of cooking spray. This is just a knockoff brand. I don't even know where it came from, but we're going to use this for release for our molds. So that's going to be one of the first things we do. We're going to use mortar topping mix and cement from, I believe I got this at Home Depot. This is just a small round stepping stone form, which we do sell on our website, stallingsglass.com. We are shipping daily, so if you need anything, go ahead and place your order and we'll get it right out for you. We have several different sizes and shapes. I'm just doing a small round one just for a demonstration. We have chicken wire, which we're going to use for reinforcement. It's just a little piece that we're going to stick in the cement when we pour it. A tub to mix our cement and topping soil in. It's a little spoon to stir it all up. And I got a couple little jugs of water over here to mix so that I don't have to run to the utility sink. And we're also using some clear contact paper to hold it into place, which I cut to the shape and size of the mold. Hi, Sally. Haven't seen you in forever. Cheap contact paper, I believe I got at the dollar store. Works fine. What we're going to do is we're going to place our glass onto the contact paper, which is going to hold it in place so when we pour our cement in there, it doesn't shift or move. I use clear because what you're going to do is we're actually going to take it and we're going to put it right on top of our pattern. And I like to put a little masking tape to hold it down. And then we're going to take our pieces of glass from our design and we're going to put them onto the contact paper to hold it into place. First thing you got to do is take the backing off the contact paper. And the way that I knew how size to cut this is I just sat my mold down on there, drew a circle around it, and cut it on the inside of the line. If you cut it too big, it can go up the sides, and then your cement won't go in real nice, and it'll leave a little burrs and stuff on your cement. So you want to try to get it just a little shy of that. Now, normally I would tape this down just to kind of hold it so it doesn't move on my pattern anywhere. So I'm going to tape it where I'm not going to be working. And I kind of centered it. I didn't measure it or nothing. I just kind of centered it to what looks good to my eye. So I'm going to take my glass, and when you're doing this, you got to remember that you want to take your glass and flip the design upside down, because when you put it into the mold and you put your cement on and you pop it out of the mold, you're going to peel that contact paper off. So the side that you attach to your contact paper is going to be the front of your stepping stone. So this is the front of the glass, and I kind of want that streaky to kind of go this way, back and forth. So I'm just going to make sure I put it in the center about so. Now I like to leave at least an eighth of an inch in between each piece of the glass, just so that the mortar can get in between there and hold it together real well. So I got that piece down. So if you're doing a real detailed, intricate design, it's best to number everything and have it set here. But this is why I use clear contact paper, because if you use white or something, you can't see through it, so you won't know where your pattern goes. So I'm going to take, and I numbered all my pieces to go along with the pattern so that I know where they go. And I'm just going to take them. This is the front side, and this is an iridescent blue, and it has, I wrote my number on the top of it so I know which side is up. So I want to put that down. I'm going to put it right here, and I'm just going to kind of eyeball the spacing because it doesn't have to be perfect. Number 4, I'm going to take and put right here. I cut my circle a little small so that I can put this right on the lines, and that gives me a pretty good sized gap. So number 8, make sure you flip it upside down. Worst thing is when you get it all done and you had one piece upside down and the other pieces weren't. Not that I've never done that or anything. Now I cut these out and I didn't really grind them to fit real well because I knew I was going to leave a gap. So they're not going to fit my pattern exactly. This one I didn't like the way it looks, so I just kind of peeled it back off. You don't want to, peel them up and down too much and get your stickiness off of your contact paper, because you want to make sure that contact paper is really sticky to hold it in place when we pour our cement in. Sure, flip it upside down. These stepping stones were really popular about 10 years ago, and people were making them left and right. I've got a ton of them in the store that we've made. Depending on who you talk to, I personally would not leave them outside in the winter, but you can leave them out in the summer. You just want to make sure that they're drained well so that they don't sit in water or anything like that, because it can deteriorate the concrete or the cement. I know people have left them outside in the winter and they've been fine, and I know people who left them outside and they fell apart. So if you're going to spend this amount of time, effort, energy, and money on this, you might as well bring them in the winter. Oops, I forgot. So I'm not worried about my pattern per se. I'm just kind of putting the pieces so that it kind of looks good, so that the gaps are similar. Since I didn't grind it real well to fit together, it's not going to be perfect, but this is a quick demo. If I was doing this to sell or whatever, I probably would have ground it better, because you can see this piece is way off. So I'm just going to kind of put it to where it looks the best. That piece is way off. That's okay. I'll just make the rest of the pieces way off so it looks like I meant to do that. You can get colorants for your cement. Home Depot sells some little jars that you mix. It's a dye like that you can mix into your water to give you a different color, a stepping stone. This is just regular cement for this one, so it's a gray look.
When you mentioned that you bring the stepping stones inside, do you mean like inside your house where it's warm, or would they be okay in a garden shed?
Yeah, something just so that they're not like getting consistently getting snowed on and weathered and stuff.
So they're just out of the elements.
Yeah. And just so you know, you scared the living bejesus out of me because I forgot I had the zoom on.
I'm sorry.
Did everybody see me jump?
Well, just says you got a good heart.
Also, when like in Michigan, there's certain times in the summer that it can get extremely hot, and I have seen them where they crack because people will, it'll be really hot and they'll turn their sprinklers on and they'll get wet, and that heat and that cold water hits them will cause them to crack. So you want to kind of make sure that you keep them out of the way of a sprinkler system too. So I have all my pieces stuck. I'm not filling the entire stepping stone up. You can if you want to. You could put pieces in all these and fill it in. This one I didn't fill in either. I just did the design and then left this all open. Not a big deal. So now that I got all my pieces on here, take this tape off. I was going to try to have another one made up, ready to pop out of the mold, but I didn't take the time to do it because I was kind of lazy. So what I'm going to do is tomorrow we have our glass talk at 7, and I'm going to do the demo. We do glass talk. We talk about something. I don't know what we're going to talk about yet, but at 7 tomorrow night, I will pop this out of the mold on that show so you guys can see how you can pop them out and stuff too if you want to come back. So there's my design all stuck to the paper. You can see that's the front of it where it's stuck down to. So I'm just gonna stick it in my mold. But before I put it in the mold, I have to spray the mold. So I'm just using like a cooking spray, Pam, anything like that. You can use Vaseline, just something to keep the cement from sticking to your mold. And I don't like Vaseline because it's a pain to clean up. The cooking spray, Pam, or anything like that works real good. Usually I just spray a real heavy coat on it. And then I just take paper towel and wipe it right back off just enough. Just leave a nice evenness on it. I've used all kinds of cooking spray. I've never really had too much of a problem with it. You can use WD-40, which I've used before. However, WD-40 will stain the cement, so it looks kind of funny. Somebody's asking, can you use thin set mortar instead of concrete? You can, but I've had issues with thin set curing too quickly and causing the glass to crack. So you kind of have to just play with it. I've had some of these stones that I made up a set a few years ago. I made 5 of them, and I think 3 of them are still fine. One actually broke completely in half, and the other one, all the glass popped off of it. So that's the one thing about these. Don't think you're going to make the stepping stone and it's going to last forever, because they don't. I haven't had any last forever. The ones that I did make that are still good, made for the store, said Stallings and some flowers. We have it sitting out in our entryway so that it's not outside anymore. So now that I have that all in there and I've got the edges all sprayed and everything, I'm gonna go ahead and move my pattern out of the way. Take my mixing bowl. Now, this topping mix is real fine and it has little pebbles in it. Now your cement that you're going to use will have bigger chunks of rocks and stuff in it. So we want to use the topping mix first, or mortar mix. Is kind of the same thing. You want to mix that up first for your top layer. That way you don't. That way it will fill in all of your seams, and you won't get the big chunks of rocks or anything in it. How do you know how much to mix? Well, I just pour some in here. And I pour some water on it. Mix it up until I get it to the consistency. So I'm just going to pour some more in there. If you have too much mortar mix or topping mix made up, it's no big deal because you can mix that in with your cement that you're going to fill the rest of it up with. All right, we're going to get this. Probably should use a mask or something because this stuff is still everywhere. I really put too much water in that. You don't want it too runny because then it can run underneath the glass with a stepping stone. Contact paper is holding the glass. You don't want it so thin that it's going to get in between that. You want it kind of a little more, I would say more pancake batter, maybe a little wetter than pancake batter. You don't want it real runny. This looks pretty good right here. Just mix it up real good. Now when you pour it, you want to try to make sure that you're not, hitting any of the big, pieces of glass to make it go anywhere or move. So what I'm going to do is just pour it right in the middle and let it kind of flow out. Now I don't want a lot of the mortar mix in there. I want just enough to cover the glass, probably about 1/4 to 1/2 inch of it. We're going to put it all the way, make sure it hits the seams and everything. Now, the water will bubble up out of it. Usually I tap it after I put the mortar mix on. What it does is it gets it, vibrates it into in between the glass, and it will have some of the air bubbles come up. So when you're all done, you won't have a lot of air bubbles on the top of the stone because this is pretty smooth. You can see there's some air bubbles there. When we pop this out of the stone tomorrow, or out of the mold tomorrow night, I'll show you a quick, easy way to finish it off and make it really good. Now that I tap that, I'm going to take and put some cement in this. I'm just going to use the same container. It has some of the thin set in it still, but that's no big deal because we can just add the cement and add a little more water to it. Now these bags of cement you buy at Home Depot, or like a 50-pound bag or whatever, you can do a lot with them. It's a lot cheaper. It's like $4 or $5 a bag. So you might have $10 into cement as opposed to the Flashcrete, which is really expensive. So I'm just going to pour this in. And if you look at this, there's some bigger chunks of stones in it. And that just gives it more strength and stability. So now I'm going to take and put some water in here. If I have any left over, little buckets and stuff like this we've used for mosaics and stuff, I will probably just throw this whole thing away and not try to clean it because I don't want cement going down my drain or anything. This is still a little bit dry. I want to put just a little bit more water in it. You want this kind of more thicker, more like a peanut butter, probably. The thin set you can should be able to get it at Home Depot or any hardware store. This is what I have a tendency of doing. This is too runny now. It was too dry, now it's too runny. So I'm going to go ahead and put just a little bit more in there and stir it up. There are people in the past that have formulated how much cement to how much water for each mold. That's no fun. I like to just kind of mix it in until it looks good. Okay, now this is pretty good. It's kind of a lot thicker than the mortar was, or topping mix. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put right in the middle enough to just kind of spread it all out. You know, I don't wear gloves hardly for anything, but if you don't want your hands to get dried out or anything, because the cement will, you might want to use gloves. So far, I haven't gotten too much on me yet. Now, this is about half full. You can see how the water kind of seeps up to the top of it. Do it a little drier, that's okay. Now that I've got it half full, I'm going to take my chicken wire. It doesn't have to fit perfect. All it is just to give it something to adhere to. And that's not even chicken wire. That's some other wire I had, but I have chicken wire too. But you just need some sort of little wire. You can use old clothes hangers if you want. And what that's going to do is just give the cement something to bind to. Now, if you mix this up and it's not quite enough, don't worry about it. You could just have a thinner stepping stone, because this one I don't think I made a whole bunch, and I'm not going to mix up any more to fill it. I'm just going to go ahead and let it be a little thinner. Usually I make up way too much. This time I made up just a little bit. So this is the stepping stone method where you're actually putting the glass upside down and stuff. If you wanted to make something with the little kids, you could actually pour the cement first and then just let them put glass globs or anything into the top of it. Once I've got it all poured, I'm going to tap around the edges of it. That's going to help get the air bubbles up through it. Make sure that it's all bound together real well. I just do this for about a minute or two. You don't want to do it too much, because if you sit here and keep tapping and tapping and tapping, it can actually, that glass can let loose of the contact paper and suck up into your stone. So you don't want that. If you don't tap enough, you'll get more air bubbles on the front of it, which is not that big of a deal. Fill them, which is what I'll show you tomorrow night. So now you want to let that sit for about 24 hours. I'm going to leave it sitting right here, and then tomorrow night I'll just flip it upside down, pop it out. You peel your contact paper off, and you just fill in any holes or anything that you don't like. Sometimes the glass sinks a little bit, so you can just kind of rub the topping mix off and smooth it out a little bit. You just got to be careful not to rub it too much, because you can scratch the glass from the cement. So you want to make sure you have a bucket of water and a nice sponge to kind of clean it off. There are several pattern books on how to do the stepping stones. There's many different molds. There's heart shapes. bigger ones. They've discontinued a few, so but there are still quite a few out there. We've done the big bench mold a couple times. Um, but yeah, that's as simple as it is. I mean, you can get as detailed as you want with your pattern, but if you just want to make some little ones like this, put out in your walkway or flower bed, it's a good way to use up scraps. If you do put them out in your flower bed or anywhere outside, you want to put them on a nice bed of sand so that the water can drain from them. You don't want it sitting in water. You don't want the sprinklers to hit them when it's really hot outside. You want to just put them somewhere where they can sit and be looked at mainly. So is there any questions? I'm still waiting. Any questions? No questions for today? Okay, well, if you have any questions, you can always post them on Facebook, and I go through them after the demos are done and answer any of them. Remember, tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, we have our glass talk. We have to come up with some kind of discussion. I'm not sure what I'm going to discuss yet. The heart mold is not for sale. That was a mold that was in a kit years ago, and it's just a little plastic like cake pan, which you can also use for them. You can use metal cake pans to make the stepping stones. However, they're shaped straight up and down as opposed to these molds are usually at a slight angle. So the cake pans are a little harder to get the stepping stones to pop out. But if you know somebody who has one and you want to come into the store someday and make one when you can, I would be happy to let you use one.
They also have a lot of silicone molds out there now for cooking too. So
Yeah.
she might be able to find one like that.
I'm not sure if silicone would hold up to it or not. Would the cement kind of push it though?
Oh, it might, yes.
But it might still be able to wiggle it out though. I don't know. It sounds like something you'll have to try and let me know.
Okay. Now I have a project.
There you go. I've used cake pans in the past, but I've always found that they're hard to get the stone out of. So that's why the plastic ones. And I know the one for the heart, they remind me of a candy tin tray thing, but they're plastic. They worked really well for the stepping stones too. These are just thin plastic and they lasted quite a while. So I bet you if you went to a candy shop of some sort, they might have something like that too. Or a cake shop.
When you flip these over, when you're done, if some of the glass pops off, can they just be reattached like with silicone?
I have never had a piece of glass pop off of them when I pop them out. The only time that I've had the glass pop off them is when they've been outside for a long time.
Okay.
And the seams were like the glass was too close. So there was no mortar in between them. So that made them pop off.
Okay. So if that does happen though, can you go ahead and use silicone to put the glass back on?
Yeah, you could use like E6000 or anything like that to glue it back on because there are people that will buy stepping stones pre-made and just glue glass to them and then grout them.
Okay.
So that's a direct mosaic as opposed to this is reverse. I don't know what the technical terms are on them, but you could do either way.
Thanks.
You're very welcome. Would you be willing to demonstrate how to do mosaics glass on a tabletop? Well, you do mosaics on a tabletop the same way you would do them on anything else. You just cut all your glass and glue it and then grout it when you're all done. We'll come up with a mosaic demonstration soon. I just have to think about it. Okay, so if there's no more questions, I'm going to let everybody go for today, and I will hopefully see you guys tomorrow and you can see how it turned out. I'm kind of curious to see if it sunk in or not. So everybody, okay, Shelly had a quick question. This is probably a silly question. I'm wondering, when preparing the stained glass, do you grind the edges? Yes and no. Normally I would grind the edges, and I ground the edges to all of the pieces in this project, except for the 4 light blue ones on the outside edge, because I didn't have time to grind them. The only reason you'd want to grind them is because after you pop them out, the edge could be sharp still, but you could always take and sand it down with some real fine sandpaper or something if it's sharp. So mosaics, some people grind, some people don't, depending on what it is. The big mosaic we have here in the store, we didn't grind any of it. We just glued it all on. So, okay. Give you guys a couple more seconds if anybody else has any more questions. Facebook seems to always be a little behind. So,
Another project you might want to think about demonstrating, I don't know, where they're doing the mosaics on stones, or I'm assuming that they're gluing the glass onto a stone, but it's almost like the design is only in the center of the stone. I don't know if how they get the very sharp edge of the concrete or the grout. It almost looks like the mosaic sits on top of the stone. Do you know what I mean?
is it like just a rock stone?
Yep. Yep.
I've seen those a few years ago, and they've done it. Shelly says that she tumbles her mosaic glass, which is a good idea because then the edges aren't sharp. You just have to, if you're doing a rock or something that's real curved, you just have to cut your pieces a lot smaller so that it kind of flows around it. Because if you have big pieces, then it's going to be sticking out and be sharp. But I remember people doing those, but I haven't seen those in a long time. I'm not a big mosaic fan. I do mostly stained glass stuff. I've done a few mosaics just when I have to. I have a lot of customers that do some really nice stepping or some really nice mosaics and stuff, but it's really tedious. So. Glass on glass mosaics. Yes, I will. I'll have to teach or show a demo on glass mosaics. Problem with that is you have to cut all your stuff, then you got to glue it on, then you got to let it dry for overnight before you grout it. So that would have to be a couple-day demo. Just we could do it in sections probably. So maybe that's what we can do tomorrow. I'll pop this out and I'll get a clear vase and I'll start doing a mosaic on it. We can do a demo on mosaics. It's a great way to use up all your scrap glass because we all have enough of it. Okay, that's it for today. I will hopefully talk to you guys tomorrow and we'll pop this stone out and see how it looks.
Okay, thank you so much.
Welcome, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank
You
you.
too.